So as I'm heading to my mat, if you guys can find, if you have a blanket, we're gonna use that to start out with on the floor, so. All right. So yeah, if you can find a blanket, it's preferable, and just roll it up into a little column here. So like for mine, I just had it into a rectangle and then rolled it on up. And we're just gonna use this to put it just below our shoulder blades so that when we come down onto our backs, we'll have that little roll right underneath the shoulder blades. So nice little supportive back bend to just start opening up, and we'll do our normal breath work to start. So we'll go ahead and come down here as you're ready. So again, just below the shoulder blades. If you have a pillow or yoga blocks, that can work too. And just let the back of your head come to rest. And if you get back here and you're like, ooh, that's too much, just try and unroll your blanket halfway and make that roll just a little bit smaller. And then just kind of let your shoulder blades spread out, let your arms go a little bit wide off your mat. And then you can keep a couple options here at the legs. You can just keep your knees bent. You can extend them all the way out. Or what I'm gonna do is just take the soles of my feet together, let my knees open up wide for what we call Baddha Konasana, or reclined bound angel here. And so just settle in here again, just finding whatever feels comfortable for you right now. And then we'll just begin to find that yogic breath, that more of that diaphragmatic breath, starting with the breath in the belly. Again, imagining that balloon expanding and contracting with your breath. So as you inhale, that belly balloon begins to expand. It's nice and big. And then as you exhale, let all the air out of the balloon, the belly draws in towards the spine. Just continuing that breath in and out, your own pace. And just try and let go of any tension you might be kind of holding on to in your shoulders and your neck, even in your jaw. You can even kind of move your jaw a little left to right, let everything go. And so as always during our practice today, just make sure you take everything at your own pace. If something doesn't feel good for you, you can just opt out of it, find a different modification that works for you. It doesn't have to be exactly what I'm cueing, because everybody's different, and especially since I can't see you guys, it's a little hard to offer, modifications for everything. So feel free to, just move around, make micro adjustments in each pose, and just find what works for you. And if you just want to stay here for the whole practice, that's totally cool too. So a couple more big breaths here, maybe inhaling to a 3 count. Really filling up that belly with all the air. And exhale, every little piece of air goes out. One more time, inhale. Then exhale fully. So if you have the knees wide, you can gently take your hands to the outside of your thighs and just gently close the knees back together. And then you can just roll over onto, let's say, your right side and remove that blanket from underneath your back, and then just stay on your right side here. So I think we did this in the first class that we did together, if you guys were in attendance there. So our legs are in a 90-degree angle with our hips, and then our knees to our ankles, another 90-degree angle there. And we're just going to extend both arms out and stack the palms on top of each other. Now, if this is a little uncomfortable for your neck, you can take your little blanket or pillows that you have and just kind of give yourself a little bit of a lift here on the head to let the neck hang a little bit straighter here. So stacking the palms, so this is I like to call this the alligator mouth here. And we're gonna inhale, we're gonna reach our top hand up towards the sky as we inhale. And then as we exhale, we're gonna take that hand behind us, so a little thoracic rotation here. And you can let your knees slide apart here. They don't have to stay glued to each other. And we're trying to get that hand and the shoulder blade back down to the floor. And your gaze can follow that right hand as it goes down to the floor behind you. And then we'll reverse that inhale, the hand back to the ceiling. And then exhale, closing your alligator mouth. So we'll take that a few times here. So again, take it at your own pace. Inhale, reach. Exhale, back of the hand down to the floor behind. Inhale, back to the ceiling. And exhale to close. Inhale, reach. Exhale, open up behind. Inhale, reach. Exhale, close. Let's do one more. Inhale, reach. Exhale, take it back. And inhale, reach. Exhale, close. All right, then just gently come back onto your back and go. You can just roll over to your other side. I'm gonna flip directions so I can see the camera. So again, make the 90 degree angles here with your legs. If you need a little pillow under the head, stack the arms here. And now our left hand's on top. So inhale that left arm up to the sky. Exhale, the back of the hand to the floor. Hopefully the shoulder blades are reaching down there. And again, if this need to separate or lift, that's totally cool. We're really just getting some thoracic rotation here. Inhale, the hand back to the ceiling. And exhale to close. Inhale, reach. Exhale, behind. Inhale, back up. Exhale, close. Inhale, reach. Exhale, behind. Inhale, back to the ceiling. Exhale, close the alligator mouth. And last time, inhale, reach up. Exhale, shoulder blade tries to melt to the floor, gaze follows the hand, and then inhale back to the ceiling, and then exhale, close. All right, so then from here, just using your hands, just gently begin to come up and find your way back onto hands and knees. So just taking your wrists underneath your shoulders, knees are hips distance apart. And we're just gonna do some hip circles here. So there's no real perfect posture for this. So we're just gonna take our hips over to the right, then kind of down towards your heels, and then around over to the left, and then back up. And we're just gonna take this a few times in one direction. And if you wanna undulate a little bit through the shoulders too, kind of stretch out through the side body, whatever feels good for you. This is very loosey-goosey. You're just trying to get some movement into the hips here. And come back up through center, and then we're going to take it circles in the opposite direction with the hips. Alright, then just back into the center. We'll just do a couple cat-cows here, make sure that spine's starting to warm up and get a little mobile here. So as we inhale, lift your tailbone up, draw your shoulders forward. And then exhale, really round the spine, draw that navel up towards the spine, let all the air come out. And then take it back up, lifting the tail, looking forward. And then exhale, round it out, press the earth away with the hands, chin to chest. And let's just take one more for good measure here. Inhale, lift, and exhale, round. All right, then coming back into neutral here. And we're gonna take our elbows down to where our palms were on the floor. So our elbows now are sitting right underneath our shoulders and our palms are just flat on the floor. And then we're going to just step each foot back and we're going to come into a forearm plank here. So let your butt come down, really activate your legs, and you're making a nice long line here. So I don't want to see, well, I can't see anything, but I know butts in the air. Bring them down. If this is a little too much, just take those knees down to the mat, that's fine. So really engage that core, draw that navel up towards your spine. And then on an exhale, just let those hips come down. You can release the tops of the feet to the mat. And then from here, just gonna go into Sphinx pose. So we're just going to leave the elbows and the hands right where they are, but draw the chest forward and then feel like you're pulling the elbows back towards your body. Nothing really moves, and just look straight ahead. This is a little bit too much for you, a little too much early in the back bending early in the day. You can just kind of stack your forearms and just take a nice little gentle rest here. It's still a little curvature in spine there. All right. And then no matter where you are, we're gonna come back up into that forearm plank. So begin to engage your core. You can start by just lifting up the hips and leaving the knees on the ground. Then tuck those toes, and maybe you straighten the rest of the legs here. I'm just trying to build up a little heat here too as we get started. And kind of round a little bit through the shoulders here. Press back through the heels. Really activate those legs, your glutes, your quads. And then exhale. Hips gently come down, release the feet. Inhale, draw that chest forward, shoulders melt down away from your ears. And then let those elbows slide wide, take your hands underneath the shoulders. We'll press up and back. Bring your toes to touch. Your knees can stay pretty wide here, and just let your forehead come down towards the floor. You may need to stack elbows or just put a little block underneath your forehead too, that's fine. Or if that doesn't feel good on your knees, you can put that pillow roll behind your knees, or just keep your hips up nice and high too. Anything works. And this is just a spot you can come to at any point in your practice. If you just want a little break from what we're doing, if something doesn't feel good, you can leverage that. All right. So then moving along, we're going to gently begin to lift the hips up. We're going to spread our fingers nice and wide here on the floor. Separate our toes to hips distance apart. And then we're just going to lift our hips up and back to a brief down dog. And then bend the knees, look forward, and gently walk the feet to the front of the mat. So deep bend in the knees here, and we're just going to fold over the legs. Let your neck just release and get nice and long here through the back of the neck. And then we're going gonna press into our outer heels without actually moving anything. We're just activating the outside of our glutes here. And then inhale, your arms forward and up, come to standing. Arms overhead, reach up, fingertips to the sky. And then exhale the hands into the heart. So we're gonna do just a little bit more warming up the spine. So I'm gonna turn towards you guys a little bit here. So we're just going to begin to take the arms and just go side to side. And just make them really loose, just turn and let gravity do, so you're almost like kind of smacking yourself here. And if it feels better for you as you're twisting, if you feel anything in your hips or your lower back as you're twisting, just lift your heels and let your feet kind of pivot with that turn if you feel anything there. So whichever feels better for you. And just getting a little bit more rotation movement here, getting the fluid moving. All right, and slow it down, come back to center. All right, then we'll inhale our arms overhead, again, get nice and long. And then little bend in the knees, you're gonna fold forward again, all the way down to the floor. Again, bend the knees as much as you need to. You don't need to have this super straight legs here. Again, let your head go, just hang towards the floor. And then we're gonna have that same kind of back and forth motion here. So we're just kind of, you can drag the fingertips along the floor side to side and just take it back and forth. If your fingertips do not reach the floor, no worries. You're just kind of more of a nice little hover. Actually, that feels really good too. Just stretching out the lower back. You may feel a nice little stretch through there. And then when you get over next time to the left side, just kind of hold there in that twist. So feel your right ribs kind of lengthening through here, all those little intercostal muscles. And then release, take it back and forth. And then the next time you go over to the right, we're gonna hold here. And again, if your fingertips aren't touching the floor, that's fine. You're just hovering and kind of reaching your fingertips towards the floor. Nice stretch through that left side body. And then back and forth, back to center. All right, and then come to stillness in the middle. We're gonna press into our outer heels again. We're gonna inhale our arms forward and up as we're bending the knees, and we're gonna sit down into our chair pose. So like you're sitting down, there's a chair behind you, you're about to sit your butt down into. Your weight is really heavily in the heels so you can lift up your toes. Should be able to even look down and see your toes. And then your arms can come alongside the ears. If that's a little too much for your shoulders, you can take down to shoulder height, or even just take your hands to prayer in the center. So whatever feels better for your arms. And just making sure you still have neutral spine, so you don't want to be like arching or rounding, just that nice little neutral lower back curve here. You should really feel this powering up in your glutes here. All right, then inhale all the way up, straighten the legs. Exhale your hands down to your heart center. And then we're going to take a big step back with our left leg, far back as you can make it. We're going to come into crescent pose. So you may want to bend your left knee a little bit here. And then we're going to take our arms out to shoulder height. And we're going to find our eagle arms. So your arms are going to come down. Your left arm is on top of your right. And then you can either grab your shoulders or bring the backs of your hands together, or maybe the palms come to touch for full eagle arms. And we're just going to hold here, maybe press back through that left heel, maybe even start to straighten your left knee. Really getting into those hip flexors that get really tight from sitting all the time. one more big breath in. And then exhale, release the arms, take them overhead. You feel the blood rushing back in here. And then exhale, take your arms forward, engage your core as you bring the hands down to the top of your mat. You're gonna step back to plank pose. So let your butt come down nice and strong here. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, lift your hips up and back, downward dog. Bend the knees as much as you need to. And then bend the knees, look forward. Gently walk to the front of the mat. Let's inhale halfway up here. So we're just gonna take the hands to the front of the shins or even the thighs. Inhale, finding a long neutral spine. Then exhale, fold. And inhale, bend the knees, sweep the arms up, pausing halfway in that chair pose. So bring the weight into the heels. Find your arm variation, whatever feels better for you. One more big breath in, maybe sit a little bit deeper, almost sitting into that chair. And then inhale, reach everything up to the sky. Exhale your hands back into the heart center. And then this time we're going to step that right leg, big step back. Maybe bend that right knee a little bit. You really want your shoulders to be stacking over your ribs, over your hips. So you can start here. Let's take our arms out, shoulder height again. I'll do this forward so you guys can see. And then this time our left arm comes underneath, our right arm's on top. Grab those shoulders or take the backs of the hands together or the palms. And then let's think about that right knee. Maybe we can start to straighten it a little bit more, press back through that right heel, really feel that stretch and that hip flexor up here. Hopefully you guys are warming up. I'm feeling pretty warm. And then inhale, release the arms, reach them overhead. And exhale, gently take them down to the floor. We'll find that plank pose. Again, you can always take your knees down here. Just either way, you've got that core nicely engaged. And exhale, downward dog. And bend the knees, look forward. Then a walker step to the front of the mat. We'll inhale halfway up. Again, use those hands on the shins or thighs for support. Exhale, fold. And inhale, rise all the way back up to standing this time. Skip the chair pose for the moment. And exhale, the hands down to the heart. And take a deep breath in here. On your exhale, we're going to go back into that chair pose just from standing here. So weights in the heels. This time, just keep your hands at your heart. We're going to add a little twist. So take a deep breath in. As you exhale, you're going to draw your navel in towards your spine and begin to take your left elbow outside your right knee. So you may need to sit down a little bit deeper. If this is too much and you're just not going to make that connection, that's totally cool. Just hover here in that same twist. You're still getting that nice, again, that thoracic mobility. So where you return here. And it's okay if there's a little bit of shifting in the hips, just trying to not make it too terribly of a big movement. All right, inhale back to center, straighten the legs. And then again, big step back with the left leg back to that crescent pose. And this time we'll just take the arms overhead. So let the arms frame the ears, maybe soften the shoulders a little bit, try and release some tension there. And then we're gonna take just 2 dips down with our knee. So our left knee is gonna drop straight down to the floor. So 1 and and 2. And then just hold back in your crescent. All right, hands come down on an exhale into the heart center. And this time we're just gonna gently step back forward, top of your mat. Deep breath in here. Exhale. One more breath in. On this exhale, sit back down into your chair. Really getting into the glutes here this morning, making sure they're nice and awake. All right, so then we'll add the twist on this side. So take your last breath in, and then exhale, draw that navel in towards your spine. This time we're taking the right elbow over towards the left knee. Maybe you need to sit a little bit deeper, and you just find that twist. So you're trying to bring your prayer hands back towards the center of your chest. Or again, if you're not all the way down there connecting, just a nice little rotation of the chest here. And then inhale back to center and straighten the legs. And then gently take a big step back, right foot, back to crescent lunge. Arms can come overhead, frame the ears. Soften the shoulders down just a little. And then this time we're going to take that right knee and drive it straight down to the floor just 2 times. Just gets a little bit more into that hip flexor, then hold back here in crescent. Exhale the hands to the heart. And gently step back forward, front of the mat. All right, nice work. Inhale your arms overhead. Exhale, we'll fold forward. You bend those knees as much as you like. Come back into that forward fold. Bend the knees, plant your hands, step back to plank pose. Let's go ahead and take the knees to the floor, release the toes, and just come all the way down onto your belly. I'm just going to take a teeny little cobra back bend here. So draw those elbows in towards your ribs. Press the tops of the feet into the floor. And then we're just going to inhale, slightly lift the chest. Just looking forward. And again, the shoulders are still gently pressed away from your ears. And release it down. Press up and back through the knees. And find downward facing dog. So we'll take about 4 breaths here. So this is a good point if you want to take a child's pose, grab some water, and then we can just all meet back in downward dog in a few breaths. And remember, in that downward dog, doesn't matter how straight your legs are, you can really bend those knees. Just make sure your hips are high and kind of pressing the floor away with your hands so your shoulders are coming kind of back towards your thighs. Obviously, they're not going to get there unless you're like Gumby or something. All right, so moving on. This is a little partial flow that we did, I think, 2 weeks ago. So we're just going to inhale our right leg straight back. Again, it doesn't have to be super high up to the ceiling, just take it behind. We're just creating some space. And then exhale, step that right foot forward up to your right palm. If it didn't make it there, just take some time to shimmy it on up so that your knee is over your ankle. And then we're also going to spin our left heel down. Press it into the floor so it's about 45 degrees back there. And then pressing deeply into both feet here, and then you're just going to take your arms forward and up towards the sky so you're coming into warrior 1. If your hips are really tight, it might feel better to just heel toe that right foot a little bit further out to the right edge of your mat. So you can play with that and just see if that feels better. We're trying to get everything to square towards the front of our mat, but we're not going to completely square those hips, but that'll get us a little bit further. Just reach up. Again, try and soften through those shoulders, just trying to release tension in those shoulders whenever we can. We always carry a lot of tension there. And bend into that front knee. And then exhale those hands down. Then we're just going to gently step that back foot in, and we're going to straighten both legs. But we still have space between our feet, left to right. And we're going to grab opposite elbows behind our backs. If this isn't comfortable, just hands to hips, totally cool. So inhale, just look up slightly. Exhale, press both feet into the ground as you fold forward over your front leg, Harisvatanasana. And just take your gaze down to your big toe. And just notice if kind of your hips are drifting off to one side or the other. You're trying to keep your hips square to the front of the room, so you may need to take that right hip. You can even kind of put your hand there and press that right hip a little bit back. Keep pressing into both feet equally. That will keep you nice and even here. If you feel like you need to take your hands down to the floor, that's cool too, or if you have some blocks or books underneath of them that the floor is not quite there. These are all things that you can experiment with. All right, and we'll inhale all the way back up to standing. All right, so from here, I think I heard that there was some potential falling over a little bit in the last time that we did this, which is totally fine. I fall over too when I do it. So we're going to move into Warrior 3. So it's a lot of strengthening in the legs and it's balance. So a lot of stuff that, you know, you guys are going around on one foot all the time. So make sure you've got some good balance. So we're going to begin to strengthen into our right leg. So bend that knee, begin to come forward, and maybe just kind of take that left toe to the floor. And then just begin to hinge at your hips. We're going to kind of bring ourselves into a T position. So you're engaging your core. You're flexing your left foot, the one that's in the air, and you're trying to keep your hips nice and even as you come forward. So a couple things you can do here, if you have some props or a chair near you or a wall, you can kind of put your hands on the block or your wall, if you have a wall in front of you or to the side or something, for a little extra stability while you work on getting those hips level. Or you can just keep your hands at your hips or back at your sides. And just look down below you, just maybe at a focus point and not on the floor. And you can bend that standing leg as much as you need to. It doesn't have to be pencil straight. So makes it a little bit easier, although I feel like it's more of a strengthening move too if you bend it a little bit. All right, and then as we inhale, we're just gonna bring everything up to the front of the mat, back to our mountain pose. Whew. So a lot on that leg. So again, if you lose your balance there, it's no problem. We're just coming back to it after we lose that balance. Just keep coming back, keep coming back. That's why they call it practice. All right, so other side. Inhale your arms up. Exhale, hinge at the hips, fold forward, bend at the knees. Let's inhale halfway up. And exhale, fold. Bend the knees, plant the hands, step back to plank pose. One big breath in here. Exhale, downward facing dog, hips up and back. And then inhale, left leg straight back behind. Exhale, step that left foot forward. Get that knee over the ankle, so take a couple minutes to shimmy it on up if everything didn't make it up there. And then spin your right heel down 45 degrees. And really feel both feet grounding through the earth here before you begin to inhale your hands forward and up. Again, if you need to adjust that left foot in this case, maybe take it a little bit wider. If that feels better on your hips and those hip flexors. And just make sure you have a nice bend in that left knee. And that knee should be about right over the ankle, and it's just tracking out over your middle toe. And you're still pressing into that back edge of your right foot, so you can feel that really pressing into the ground. You might even feel that in your calf a little bit. And exhale the hands into the heart. And then we're going to gently step that back foot in. Straighten both legs. Again, square everything to the front of the mat, but make sure you have space between your feet, left to right. Grab opposite elbows. And big breath in. Exhale, fold it forward, Parsvottanasana. And again, check in with the hips here. Maybe kind of shift it off to the left or the right. Try to square them up. Maybe take your left hand and press back your left hip. Press it towards the back of the mat so it's nice and square. Take your gaze to your big toe. Again, if you need to take your hands down to blocks or books or anything, feel free. And then pressing into both feet, inhale, up to standing. And then we're going to go into that balanced warrior three again. So begin to bring more weight into that left leg, come up onto your right toe, and then begin to hinge forward. Maybe I like taking my hands to the heart to start. Come down, level your hips, maybe bend that standing leg a little bit. And then if you need to come down to a prop here on the floor, that's fine too. Or maybe the hands come behind. Just feel your foot grounding through the earth. It's like it's growing little roots there. You can feel every corner of that foot, and then just power that lifted leg back behind you. Takes a lot of strength to do this. Just keep working on it. And then inhale, come back up front of the mat, hands to your heart. Deep breath in, exhale it out. One more time, big breath in, and exhale it out. All right, inhale your arms overhead. Exhale, little bend in the knees, fold it forward. Inhale, halfway up. Just let your shoulders drift back a little bit here, create some space. And then exhale, fold. Bend the knees, plant the hands, step back to plank. Just one full breath here, engage those legs. And then exhale. Let's take the knees to the floor. And let's take a child's pose here. So toes come to touch. Your knees can be whatever distance feels better for you, closer together or wider. And then you can stretch the arms out in front, or maybe they just wrap around by your feet. And then again here, if you like to have that little maybe pillow behind your knees, that's fine too, or block underneath your forehead. Nice big breaths here, just like we did at the beginning of class, belly breathing. Really want you guys breathing with those diaphragms. And then gently begin to make your way back onto hands and knees. All right. So from here, we're going to go into our side plank pose. Supported though, so we're going to take our left foot and just kind of kickstand it off to the left side of the mat, kind of behind you. So for me, it's away from the camera. I'm kicking that foot behind me. And then I'm just going to, maybe let's just take our left hand and move it like 2 inches away from your shoulder towards the front of your mat. And then just come onto your left side, extend your right leg back. So we're just stacking ourselves here in one plane. And if it feels good, you can just reach that top arm up to the sky. So side plank, if you want to add a little bit more, you can lift that top leg. Hold it here. Nice little work on the outer hips and the obliques, which sometimes get neglected. All right, if you've got the leg lifted, lower that right foot to the floor. And then we're just gonna let our hips come down to the floor into a seated pose. So now you're probably pointing towards the back of your mat. And just go ahead and bring that sole of the left foot into your right leg, which should be extended out. We're just gonna go into that little hamstring stretch here. So take your torso so you're framing yourself up over that straight leg. Flex your toes, your right toes, so they're up to the ceiling. And if your left knee is like super up in the air, maybe take your pillow or your blanket and just nice little support underneath that knee. So want that knee to have contact with something. Then inhale your arms overhead, get long. Exhale, reach towards the toes. So we're not worried about touching the toes. We're just reaching as far as we can. We're keeping a long spine, so we're not hunching over and rounding. Long spine, reach, chest is still up. And just find as far as you can go. So I don't care whether you're all the way down or like halfway, almost straight up, doesn't matter. Whatever your threshold is, then just let your hands come down wherever they might reach. Could be your thigh, maybe it's your knee, maybe it's your toes, does not matter. Just a nice little stretch in the back of the hamstring. Probably feel a little bit in your side body too. Maybe in your little bit of your left lower back here, your QL. And just deep breaths here. And then gently come back up. If you have anything underneath your knee, just move it to the side. We're just gonna take our left hand and put it behind our left hip, and we're just gonna do a little bit of a counter stretch. So we're gonna take our left shin, press it into the floor as we just lift the hips up and your arm comes overhead. So now we're stretching out that right side. And then just gently come back down, hands and knees towards the front of your mat. Now I'm gonna switch sides. All right, so this time we're gonna kick, we're just going to the other side. The right foot comes off the mat. And then take our right hand and move it just 2 inches towards the front of your mat. And then just stack yourself into side plank here. Extend your left leg. Maybe you reach your left arm overhead. And again, you could stay here if you want a little bit more. You can lift that left leg. And whatever is comfortable for your gaze, it might be straight out in front, or maybe you take it up to the thumb in the sky. Always keeping that breath going, in and out, nice and slow. And then the left foot comes down to the floor if it's not already there. And then go ahead and lower your hips all the way down. So again, you're probably facing the back of your mat again. Here, we're gonna take the sole of our right foot into the left leg. Again, if we need a little support underneath our bent knee, just place your little pillow roll there. Left toes flex up to the sky. Inhale, arms overhead. And then exhale with that neutral long spine here. Just reach forward. And then when you reach your threshold, just let the arms come down towards the floor wherever they hit. deep breaths. Just a gentle focus, maybe on your toes here. And then gently come back up. Anything underneath that knee, just gently push it to the side. Right hand comes behind your right hip. And we're just gonna take that right shin towards the floor as a kickstand and then lift our hips up and reach your left arm overhead. Deep breath in. And then exhale, just bring everything down to find yourself back onto hands and knees on the mat. Okay, so let's go ahead and just let our hips shift back to our heels again. Child's pose or whatever feels good for you to do at this moment. If you're in child's pose, you can even kind of shift your hips a little bit left to right. Okay, to find a little movement there. And then from here, you're just gonna snake forward onto your bellies. And then just take your hands wide off the mat and just tent your fingertips. And you can even take your feet a little bit wider than hips distance. Just let the backs of your feet press into the floor. And we're just gonna inhale into just a different variation of a cobra pose here. So as we inhale, just a little lift of the chest. Let those shoulders melt down a little bit. Shoulder blades just drift down your back. And just a little gaze forward. Exhale, release. One more time, inhale, lift. Just light pressure into those fingertips. Exhale, release. And we'll do one more. Inhale, lift. And exhale, release. And then from here, just go ahead and roll over onto your back and just bend your knees. So just take a moment here, take your feet wide to the edges of your mat if you have one, and just let your knees knock in together. And belly breaths. If it helps to put your hands on your belly so you can feel it rise and fall. It's always a helpful tool, at least for me. All right, then let's begin to walk our feet in, hips distance apart. And just make sure those ankles are right underneath your knees. And let's make our robot arms. So just bend your elbows so your fingertips are pointing up towards the sky, and just the backs of your arms are pressing into the floor. And begin to press your heels into the floor. You should feel your tailbone begin to curl up a little bit. And then go ahead and curl the rest of that tailbone up. Begin to lift your hips up towards the sky. So your tailbone is nice and long here, and you can press the backs of the arms into the ground for a little more lift. But you're bringing your hips and your chest up to the sky. And just make sure you're keeping your chin lifted too, so you still have some space and you're not kind of crunching the neck here. So just keep that chin lifted up towards the ceiling. This is a great pose because it's getting into your glutes here, which we already worked on quite a bit. It's also opening up our hip flexors, getting some ab action going here. A little bit of everything. And then as you exhale, I want you to come down, but as slowly as you can. Just imagine you're doing it one vertebra at a time, so it's super slow. So you should be on the floor yet. Keep rolling down a little bit, still shouldn't be on the floor. Roll, 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 roll. A little bit more. And now you should probably start to feel your lower back and your tailbone finally hit to the floor. Just make sure your glutes work a little bit more too, so. All right, so, are we doing on time? Okay, perfect. So we're gonna do what we call a supported shoulder stand, or if you're near a wall, you can do legs up the wall. So I'll show both depending on what you guys have near you. If you're doing supported shoulder stand, just take a little blanket, or if you have a little pillow, just gently lift your hips up and just put that right underneath your hips. So just kind of underneath your sacrum there. And then you're just going to take your feet and extend them up towards the sky. Just a gentle little flex in your feet. And you're just going to let gravity do all the work here to just let all of the weight come into those hips here, and just let the weight sink into that blanket or whatever, that pillow, whatever you have underneath your hips. And you're basically just holding here. And it doesn't matter if you have a little bend in your knees, that's fine. If your hamstrings are still a little tight, totally cool. So that's option one. If you have that going and it feels good, stay there. If you want to do legs up the wall, which I highly recommend if you've been on your feet all day running around, you just come up against the wall and then you just shimmy on, put your legs up against the wall and come down. Obviously your back's here, and you can still use a block or which I can't reach right now, or a pillow underneath your hips here too. And again, your knees can be a little bit bent. If you need to come further away from the wall, your butt doesn't have to be tight up against it. That's helpful too. Just play around with that and see what works for you. So we're just gonna hang out here for a minute or two, so get comfy. And if you're not against the wall, it does take a little effort, of course, to hold your legs in the air, but that's okay. Hopefully it's just a little bit of effort, and we're balancing that with the ease of just a nice recline here on the floor. Plus you're getting some benefits from an inversion, so if any fluid and stuff's in the legs, it's all coming back. Again, back to our nice belly breaths. We're also trying to keep our minds maybe from wandering to other things, just trying to keep it focused here. So maybe just centering it on that breath, and maybe you count as you're inhaling 1, 2, 3, and exhaling 3, 2, 1. So a nice little tool to keep us focused right here. There's no need to be anywhere else. And then when you're ready, just begin to bend those knees. Bring them into the chest. And if you're on that pillow or anything, you can just gently take that out from underneath your feet. So if you need to, maybe just take your feet down to the floor and lift the hips up to move your prop away. And then just hug the knees back in. And take the hands on the knees, and let's just make little knee circles here. Like you're drawing a little circle on the ceiling, flowing in the same direction. And the next time you get back to center, switch the direction of your circle. Just giving your lower back a nice little massage here. And then just hug it back in. And then And you can either, if you're gonna go into Shavasana, feel free to go there, or just maybe come onto your side, let your arms support your head, and just stay here for a moment. You never wanna rush up to standing after all of this floor work. Kind of jar the nervous system a little bit there. So just a couple of breaths here. And then whenever you're ready, if you're coming up, use your hands and just gently press yourself back up to seated. And that concludes our practice for today. So hope you guys enjoy it and have the amazing rest of your day. It's pretty cloudy here in Maryland, but hopefully, I don't know, the rain's gonna hold off, we'll see. But if it's nice where you are, get outside. And I don't know if we're doing Memorial Day next week, so we'll coordinate with Coach Mike, and if not then maybe the week after that I will see you guys. So again, if you have any feedback, let your parents know, send it through Coach Mike. If there's anything that you want to work on next time, just reach out and we'll set it up. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.